was pretty good indeed. So now, let's see where we are going to head for game number 2. This is where we can see if TeamNut can try and bring it back. They've unfortunately lost the obvious cheese map. So if they did have any sneaky strategies planned, their options are now limited.
The thing is, they didn't even try to show us any cheese, right? They picked a fairly standard composition. They didn't even play it crazily.
They've won standard against other teams before,
Yeah.
but this is where you learn that it just won't work against SPT. And in fact, they're going to give SPT the map choice, and they're going to take us to the Cursed Hollow.
All right, finally China is showing us all that sweet, sweet Cursed Hollow. We have already, started to begin our doubts whether China would ever play this map again. Looks like the gentleman's agreement has been broken for round 2.
In Cursed Hollow and Braxis, those two are just like, you know what, sure, let's just play them and get good at them. As Abathur is removed, Genji, then we'll see Maiev and Diablo. Those are my predictions.
Yeah, unless TeamNut has any special thoughts about it. Maybe the white main. I mean, CCH has played a really good white main before. Yeah, let's see what they prioritize. But Maiev is certainly a must-ban in my opinion. She's so deadly on this map where there's so many choke points.
Garrosh over Diablo. I guess TeamNut wants Diablo.
Yep.
And I think SPT should give it to them. It's certainly, in my opinion, a little bit more valuable than the Maiev. Sorry, a little bit less valuable than the Maiev.
Yeah.
So as such, Maiev is the one that is banned.
Also, I think Diablo, if it were to be picked first now by TeamNut, can be countered much more easily than a Maiev, because even if you were to pick a lot of, crowd control effects like silences and stuns against Maevs, even then, sometimes she just escapes your grasps, and she will then maybe turn around and... oh, that is a big commitment already. Ignoring supports and going for the double front line here.
I mean, there's so many good supports that I don't mind that. And when your opponent's open with Hanzo for some reason on Cursed, I'm happy that you pick up the front line of your dreams.
I mean, we've seen many times before what a Dehaka can do in Cursed Hollow. You can actually afford to skip tributes and get that split soak value. You can arrive in the nick of time to get that tribute to the first place with a sudden 5 versus 4 turnaround. Easily one of my favorite picks on Cursed Hollow. Dehaka is so good.
And so then, what are we going to see in terms of the bans with Thrall and Decadecane coming in for TeamNut? They should ban...
Just ban a tank?
Some kind of front line, or I guess Thrall could hold the off lane, so it makes more sense to ban an assassin, removing the global. Okay, I dig it. I dig it.
I wouldn't really have hated a Johanna ban, for example, because then that would have limited the frontline options even more for TeamNut. But the Falstad makes a lot of sense. That basically leaves Soap uncontested in that solo lane in terms of globals, unless we end up seeing an ETC with a stage dive on the sides of TeamNut. But yeah, offlane ETC traditionally has its risks and downsides in China.
This is true. He is a squishy boy, so can be punished pretty hard sometimes. For now, though, we're sticking with Rhaegar and Reyna, so lots of slows to set up for that Reyna. With Phoenix banned out, also synergizes the best with the Diablo.
Pretty awesome to see how this Falstad ban now actually gets another dimension and another boon, and why they banned it, because that could be one of those special SPT Bloodlust compositions, and guess what's good against Bloodlust? It is Mighty Gust. So,
Very true. So now then, there's the Illidan for TeamNut. There's a lot of point-and-click CC already on the other side, so...
Okay, the Illidan would have actually... No, I'm not sure if I would have recommended it to TeamNut. There's still so much they can use to shut him down. Honestly, just go for a mage now, play a standard game with Rhaegar, no Bloodlust, and just have something.
That also works.
That also works, and it now could very well be the starting signal for that Bloodlust. Double auto attackers. Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy.
I've supported this talent before. There's one talent specifically, and I'm gonna once again attempt to endorse it. If you're going to run a Bloodlust comp, give me some diabolical momentum. Yeah. More stuns for Illidan, or just mass attack speed. Just smack him up. You don't even have to go the leech knife. Bam's still good.
I'm down.
And just bam all those abilities and just whack him. Just whack that Illidan around the battlefield so we can't do anything.
Now, what was the support option for TeamNut? Do you remember?
They had Deckard, right?
Deckard Kane? Okay. So yeah.
They took Deckard's second pick.
So I wonder if we're going to see a Valkyrie catch one, pop the Bloodlust, blow that target up, or if we're going to see the Lightning Ball, which is great against Illidan.
It is. I think both are good, but I think I prefer Ball Lightning here because you need stuff to get through that evasion. So you can't just rely on Fend. So we'll see. I wouldn't mind. I would like them to go Bloodlust here, but I don't mind Ancestral ever. Yeah, it's a good ability.
Absolutely true. So with Ancestral, you go for the defensive fights. You're trying to bait Illidan in there, only to save the target and then turn around with strong ability damage. That Cassia can very well dish out, as Tetris said, with that Ball Lightning coming into effects. Now, can TeamNut be the first team today that carries Illidan to victory? We're going to find out in the bit with Mercy, Atui, Malthael, Nightmare, and Dia.
And on the right-hand side, SPT with Lucky, Melody C, Misaka, Soap, and ZZH.
All right. Cassia is waiting. There could be a world in which we're actually going to see the Blinding Light talent at level 1, which, you know, is actually a talent that we've seen against Butcher several times. That hero used to be picked in the past. Seraph's Hymn is the talent I'm talking about here, of course. Increasing... lowering the cooldown, but it's not even taken anyways. Thunderstroke. Good old Thunderstroke. Definitely a good talent too.
Annoy Deckard Kane, try and burn through his mana nice and quickly. So we don't see it indeed. We do, however, also see Wolf Run and Exterminator coming in. Reina realizing that Illidan is going to be split pushing a lot, so he's probably going to have to D-push at least a couple times this game, so he's going to go with that.
Also helps, of course, clearing bosses way more quickly, which then could allow to actually keep up with Hanzo's speed. Because oftentimes when you are struggling, you know, with the boss damage, then you might give the enemy team who has superior boss damage to rotate up in time and harass you a little bit.
Malthael, Wind Fury value, able to escape the gank there. Keeps himself safe on that thrall. As Nightmare pulls back, also able to survive. Interesting scatter arrow there by Mercy, not the most value being gained. But stacks are being gained by Melody C with this Thunderstroke.
Good stuff, yeah. Actually, sometimes when you are Muradin, in that case, you don't even want to get close. Hold that thought. Is the tongue going to land here against Dia? Nope. Soap either doesn't have it ready, or didn't even bother trying. But Dia already getting pummeled pretty hard by the dinosaur.
Yeah. Interestingly enough, he will be able to sustain if he can get into the minion wave, but until then, might struggle a bit. Merc Camp, Bruiser Camp being taken here, making the most of that Illidan, of that Rhaegar AoE, as Illidan could, in theory, be making use of his own Merc clear speed at the moment, but right now is wanting to control the lane more. Now is going to rotate, maybe a little bit late, I would say.
Yeah, that's the cool thing about the draft of TeamNut, though, right? They have more than one hero that can actually take care of mercenaries and bosses very quickly. That is, of course, Hanzo that we're talking about. But Hanzo is currently needed when it comes to clearing that middle lane up at least a little bit. But as you said, that middle mercenary camp arrives very, very late for TeamNut. They might even take some crippling damage onto their towers if they don't hurry up and defend.
Yeah, Atui actually delivered a couple drinks over the garden fence to Illidan, who was doing that Merc Camp. However, Illidan has a visitor. Look at the minimap, you can see Diablo hovering around that Bruiser Camp, trying to deny it. And also, Cassia with those extra blinds coming in at level 4.
I mean, you're calling Diablo a visitor here. Can you imagine what would happen if your doorbell rang and you would see the Lord of, you know, Terror himself standing just there?
He's just dressed up as like
as
like one of those Bible sellers, and he's just like, "Excuse me, do you have time to talk about our Lord and Savior Terror?"
Yep. I mean, in a world in which we have those heroes colliding in the Nexus, that could certainly be an alternate reality. Oh, speaking of, whew, that was Hanzo almost taken into a different dimension there.
Able to survive though. He's healing up now via the fountain pretty effectively. Some heals from the Deckard Kane as well. They're able to sustain through nice and easy.
Alright, this time it is the blue mercenaries trying to get some damage done here. That easy first tribute though, totally uncontested, because TeamNut realized it is much more valuable to actually, you know, inflict a little bit of additional damage there onto the structures. But SPT are doing ever such a solid job at defending. Big lead from Mercy getting to safety there in Hanzo.
And as such, able to stay alive and healthy. Cassia now needs to be careful. Due to the fact that she went for that inner light, she now has less immediate sustain. She's much more reliant on the Rhaegar to actually heal her. Still goes with the Surge of Light, though, which means that when she does actually dive into the middle of the enemy team, her AoE damage is going to be absolutely monstrous.
Yeah. And of course, the inner light that you mentioned here, the level 4 talent, is pretty much the best Illidan counter with the hunt that you can imagine. Every time Illidan lands a hunt on you, he's going to be blinded for a couple of seconds, and Cassia can normally just walk away to safety without taking much of damage. Now, speaking of damage, a little bit of damage is dealt onto Melody C right now. Now, before that tribute, they need to make sure to not take any unnecessary damage. You want to be in the best condition possible to show up here at that location, especially when this tribute location is closer to the enemy team's base.
Misaka zoning Muradin, but no one zoning Dia, so he just gets the free hit. Stun does not land onto the wall. Overpower is used, but that is a lot of damage, and that is a very low ZZH, but he's able to escape. Nightmare is as lucky. I was about to say not so lucky, but he's apparently as lucky as he also escapes.
No way that ZZH survived that. I was actually going to say that he baited this engage, but he actually overdid it. A great tongue onto Jimmy. And with combined efforts, onto Decker Kane, they find the kill. Jimmy being the person who executed him.
Nicely done. There was a Jimmy there, but it was only the rustled kind, as in that case, Deckard wiped out by that good drag tongue by Dahaka, and an immediate boss reaction. You see that executioner value, exterminator value, that Kendrick was alluding to earlier. On the other side, though, Muradin kind, Hanzo getting crazy value with those scatter arrows to also help with the burn, and Illidan being a great tank for this reason. Now,
good little detail to pay attention to. SPT actually didn't send 5 people to deal with the boss because they didn't need to. So Misaka, during all of this, was able to keep soaking in the middle, and that extended the experience lead even further. While TeamNut, they needed all 4 members to clear that boss as quickly as possible, and they weren't able to soak. So although both teams received their boss, it is SPT who walks away with a slight experience advantage, and that is very important for you guys out there as well. When you play Hero League or Team League, those are the small little details that can make a big difference eventually if done regularly.
So, boss being burned down by Dia. I bet he wishes he had Immolation right now, because he'd be burning through the minion wave at the same time. But in this case, you're still getting the stacks from it. Malthael pings in a little bit of extra damage as well. Staying at a distance, as his team is still in a full level away from level 10. So this tribute is certainly going over to SPT, and that will be the first curse.
I think TeamNut can't really invade, you're right. I mean, sure, Raynor is in the bottom. Sure, they wouldn't have had a 5-man squad, SPT that is. But the lack of level 10s is just too much. Even in a 4 versus 5 situation, you can hope to get guaranteed kills when the enemy team has rig abilities, and you don't.
That boss very nearly got super lucky. The curse happened while it was pushing the tier 2s. It had no health left, so the tower stopped hitting. If it had got one AoE stun off, the minions would have died. It would have been able to keep pushing even longer. But it did die in the end. Nightmare gets the wall, but saves Dwarf Toss and is able to escape. But Melody C chases, but gives up.
Yeah, that was so close. If Raynor had timed his penetrating rounds a little better, he could have actually interrupted the Dwarf Toss animation, and that would have been the kill onto Muradin 100%. In the meanwhile, we see Illidan struggling a little bit right now. He did go for the hunt, so this pseudo-global is now online. Needs to be careful, though, not to use it on Cassia. Otherwise, he would proc the inner light immediately, as we said earlier. But strong lockdown now, if you look at it. Earthquake, Dragon's Arrow, the hunt, Lornado. All they need to do is now find an opening here. TeamNut, that is.
That they do. Melody C sits his team and burning through what is left of this Fruits camp. They don't want to push any further with that curse, as they didn't want to get caught out of position with the level 10s of TeamNut, who went for standard stuff with that hunt, as you already mentioned. So with Ancestral being chosen by SPT, this gains even more value now. If it was Bloodlust, then I would have said Metamorphosis might have worked a little bit better.
Oh, that was a little bit of a reckless shadow charge. And Misaka even needs to interrupt his own lightning breath. The Ancestral is good, but not good enough.
Absolutely wrecked coming in here. Diablo goes down, but his Soul Stone will bring him back up. But in the meantime, down goes Raynor as well. And TeamNut suddenly turn it up.
Yep. All the Soul Stones are lost just because of one mistake. By the same token, we see the Never-Ending Hatred now fully completed for Illidan. So big damage on those auto attacks are coming is coming through. And the mistake here was, in my opinion, that Misaka didn't go for the overpower, but went for the shadow charge. He's now mini dibbles, tries to go for another engage, and this time they actually connect and get the kill.
Apple's Nightmare to back up with no Hanzo. They can't execute anyone as all the Air Rubber Assassins are in other lanes. And Illidan's still 20 seconds left before his hunt is back up as well. So he has to pull back, was unable to join. And TeamNut just moved back into defensive positions.
Now, this wasn't really, you know, a game-ending misplay by Misaka, but these are misplays that shouldn't happen to a top-tier warrior that we know him to be. Because against Korean teams, for example, misplays like these can be punished super hard. The good thing is, the good news for them was that TeamNut was so far behind they couldn't even capitalize. But just imagine this being a game in which, you know, experience is even, or maybe they're even one level behind. They actually could have rushed over and destroyed some structures immediately, TeamNut that is. Or any opposing team.
Very true, but it was not to be this time. We are going to see Cassia bringing out the Thunder God's Vigor. So a little bit of extra damage on that side. And the question is, what can they make out of this? As Malthael is hovering around the area as well, looking to maybe catch someone of SPT, as they are on even talents, at least for the moment. But no one rotated that way, so instead it's going to be an attempt to gank the Dahaka. Dragon Arrow, Cube, and a beautiful Burrow Lornado on point, though. The anti-heal is there. He drops the isolation to try and escape, but they were very smart. They were very patient. They didn't just A-move, which would have maybe killed the wall, or like just fire abilities at him. Instead, they focused just at Dahaka, didn't kill the sideball to give him an escape route, and he went down.
And you know what? Slowly but surely, TeamNut can capitalize on those picks. As we said earlier, they're now going for buildings, which is going to be super useful. But SPT is trying to make the best out of this mess, and they're trying to get some counter value on the opposing side. Now, we're probably going to see bosses being traded here. SPT is closer to TeamNut's boss, and TeamNut is closer to SPT's boss, which is pretty nice. I think it might actually be an advantage here for SPT at the moment, because they already got rid of the wall here. Hold that thought. Actually, Siege Shine's still pushing in top as well. It's going to be a really interesting scenario now.
Have we talked about Elusive Strike yet? Level 13 of Illidan?
I don't think we have yet.
Okay, it's an interesting but actually relatively rarely seen talent. We would normally see Nimble Defender or Sixth Sense. Sixth Sense, of course, is the spell armor. Nimble Defender is the 25 irregular armor. But Elusive Strike against this comp makes a lot of sense. It basically decreases the cooldown of evasion by 3 seconds every time Sweeping Strike damages a hero. And considering the damage output is Reyna and Cassia, mostly auto-attack focused, this actually makes a lot of sense and can be a lot of value.
Yeah, I mean, evading auto attacks is usually better than diminishing the damage coming in with Nimble Defender, for example. So yeah, I don't hate it. You know what? I think it's interesting to track down the overall value, and let's see if we can notice a difference in, you know, how often the evasion is up and ready.
I will keep an eye on it for the next fight. As we move into the next stage, the next tribute will be up in not too long. It's already shown its location on the map, and SPT will of course be hunting that. Cassia sticking with a full Lightning Fury build with Thunder God's Vigor, on level 13, and then Pierce, so even more poke damage on level 16.
Yeah, so with the piercing spears, you can now actually have multiple procs of those fork arrows to the left-hand side. Let's see what we're gonna see SPT do right now. They have kind of lost control over this game, right? It's still an even game, but they were ahead by so much. With a couple of unclean engages and sloppy moves, they gave TeamNut all the momentum, and they gave them all that time to come back here. Once again, Misaka getting caught here a little bit. TeamNut does not commit. They realize Diablo is too tanky.
They begin to try and dance forward, taking a little bit of time. Bounty Hunter, by the way, for Reyna coming in here. So max health damage, so could be potentially very effective and very useful. He would actually delay that for quite a while.
And the thing is, now hold that thought, Muradin getting engaged upon on lots of damage.
Hunt onto Diablo as they instead change the target to Soap and pick up the kill. Lornado to prevent anyone assisting as they dive forward for Diablo. Ancestral Healing lands, but guess what? It's not as strong as it used to be as Melody C gets dove on. Blind lands effectively spears for days, but it's not enough. He still goes down, and ZZH, the only survivor, is on the run, grabs the fountain, but goes down anyway.
Goes down, and now all the members, almost all the members, with the exception of Thrall here for TeamNut, have assembled. They are grouped up. They are ready to go. Let's take another look at that team fight here in that instant replay. Now look at Muradin. He is so close to dying, but with that great jump actually away from the lightning breath, he stays safe. And I don't know what Soap was thinking to go in that deeply when already his entire backline was so far pushed back by the Muradin, and they tried to focus him down. So if Soap doesn't go tunnel vision there, if he actually plays it a little safe, then this might have been a different team fight.
Yeah, sorry. I said that as if I was casting, but I was just making a comment on it was a nice blind. We see the fiery brand coming in here for the Illidan. Choosing instead of the marked for death, which is interesting, but the percentage damage against Diablo and Dahaka is super good, so it's understandable. Even though he has gone very heavily into a Q build so far this game, but it's still acceptable. Nice setup. TeamNut. Banshee, though, on the scout. UAV online.
The Chinese bush meta is a thing. It is an expression here. Yeah, both teams actually running away from one another. They're scouting all the bushes available. Now they find Raynor in a really bad spot. But the cleanse is good though.
The hunt is great onto the backline. Lucky is getting removed here. Misaka drops as well. Ancestral does not land. And with Thrall down, it's a 2-for-1 as EZH is getting chased as Melody C on the run, trying to get a good angle, but Nightmare is putting on so much pressure. Melody C is down. Soap is once again the only survivor. A 4-for-1, make it a 5. And that is TeamNut with a full team wipe for the second time in a row.
Absolutely amazing to see the value of Decker Kane there. That Lornado was vicious. It basically prevented Raynor from running away. The cleanse was good by ZZH here on Rhaegar, but guess what? The Unstoppable is going to expire, and after that had expired, he was still trapped in the Lornado, so he couldn't run away. And ladies and gentlemen, with Illidan in the mix, this is going to be a keep. Probably not going to be the core yet, because almost all the members of SPT will be back. They're really brave, they could try it, but no, they're playing this safely. And who can blame them, right? The boss is available. Can they actually make it in time? Dahaka, 10 seconds. Does have the global, though. This is an ambitious move.
Illidan has committed
Thrall's
to
not
the
even there
potential
yet.
core, and later on,
Thrall's not there.
Nexus Blades coming in. Nice stun. Yeah, this is actually risky.
Oh,
Lornado! Full help. Lornado is clutch.
Oh.
Boss is taken. They're fighting. They turn it, and Raynor gets destroyed. Hunt onto the Dahaka to give Dia a chance to escape and turns it round. A beautiful kill here. Double dragon arrow. Ancestral though, keeping Cassia alive for the time being. She could maybe try and get the turnaround. She's got huge AoE damage, but Cassia goes down. And the third team wipe in a row. TeamNut move across the map.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to HGC China. When have you ever seen 3 full-man team wipes in less than 5 minutes, I would say? Oh, nowhere. Only here.
This is the epitome of nuts as TeamNut take down SPT in game number 2, ruining SPT's chances of being top of the table and giving themselves another point. They still sit in dead last place, but they are one step closer to catching up to KT.
Can someone just tell me what happened with TeamNut twice in a row now? They go down to CE, all fair and square, but for some reason, they keep finding those wins against top-tier teams. They played 1-1 against BTG, now they have a draw against SPT. If only they could maintain this shape and form, right?
Yes, if they could do that, but once again, you have to realize that so much of that was on the Illidan, able to play so well. They were able to just get those blow-ups so effectively, playing around the Cassia, who that AoE damage in the final fight, just exactly how incredible the Cassia was doing. But it just didn't work out in the late game because the target calling onto Dahaka, onto the tanks repeatedly by TeamNut was just superior.
And so many mistakes in terms of positioning and engaging that were made by SPT, they didn't deserve the win. Quite honestly, they played super well until like level 14, 15. But when Misaka once again started to go for these questionable engages, diving into the enemy team, next to towers, next to minions and mercenaries, it all started to fall apart. They really lost their rhythm. And, you know, if you go for aggression only, which is what SPT did all the time, you sometimes forget about Illidan, that you sometimes need to peel for the backline. You can't always make those aggressive plays, because if you focus on Muradin, which is something they had done several times, guess who's going to reign supreme? Illidan is going to dive in the backline. You're not going to have any cooldowns ready to punish him. And yep, that was Illidan in a nutshell for you.